I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world?
In his silence, Taehyung didn't just rise. He inspired. He strengthened countless souls who had also felt discarded, pushed aside, and ignored. He stood up for them all. And through him, they learned that we can remain whole, even when the world tries to tear us apart. He no longer needed anyone's defense. Because the world began to speak for itself. They began to wonder, why was V more alive than ever, while the system that pushed him away was losing its color? The answer was simple: honesty is irreplaceable. He had transcended those who silenced him. He transcended those who treated him as a number, not a human being. Now, it wasn't HYBE that shaped his future. It was himself. And that was even more terrifying for them, because Taehyung could no longer be controlled. He proved that he wasn't an asset. He was a soul. He wasn't something to be calculated. He was a force that could shake the world with one song, one lyric, one sincere smile. He was no longer standing at the bottom, but at the top, and not because he was pushed, but because he chose to rise. No tears were shown for public consumption. He cried silently, perhaps. But what the world saw was a man who kept smiling, kept giving. And therein lay his strength. He didn't need to put anyone down to demonstrate his class. HYBE may have shown that they could let go of anyone for money. But Taehyung showed that he could let go of HYBE and still own the world. And that world is now his, because he won it with love. He never belonged to the system. He belongs to those who believe in sincerity. He belongs to those who refuse to submit to lies. He belongs to those who know that true fame isn't bought, but built, day by day, with the heart. Now, the public doesn't need clarification from HYBE. They already know who's right. They've seen who continues to shine even when thrown into the abyss. And that answer comes every time Taehyung appears, confident, carefree, without resentment. He is proof that wounds don't always hurt. Sometimes, wounds form wings. And those wings are what now carry Taehyung soaring higher than anyone who ever underestimated him. He didn't just survive, he won, without crying. And to those who abandoned him, he didn't curse. He only gave silence. Because he knew the best revenge wasn't anger. It was achievement. And in that, Taehyung had given more than enough. He is now a symbol of courage for many. Not because he fought, but because he refused to be destroyed. He is the answer for those tired of being victims. He is an inspiration for those who want to rise but are afraid to be alone. Taehyung teaches that sometimes, being abandoned is the beginning of freedom. And when someone is freed from a restrictive system, the most honest work is born. He is free now. And that freedom cannot be bought by anyone. He no longer walks in the shadows. Now, he is the light itself. A light that doesn't depend on the system, doesn't wait for anyone's approval. Taehyung has freed himself from the invisible chains that once held him back, and from there, he has begun to create a world of his own. Every step he takes now is a subtle resistance to the industry that once trapped him in a false image. But he never lets out his anger. He chose a purer path, responding to betrayal with creation. Behind every song, there are blood and tears that he transforms into beauty. His fans watch this with tears in their eyes. They know that Taehyung has endured more pain than he lets on. But precisely because of that, their love grows deeper. Not because he's perfect, but because he remains gentle when the world is so harsh on him. He doesn't prove himself through sales figures. He proves it through the feelings he evokes. Through touching lyrics, a calming gaze, and a grounded presence. He doesn't try to be a legend, he just wants to remain human. But that's why he's a legend. While the system continues, cold and uncaring, Taehyung builds something far warmer: connections. Relationships that can't be bought with promotions or scheduled by management. Connections between hearts, between hurt and understanding. And now, every spotlight that was once taken from him has returned on its own. Not because of a marketing strategy. But because the world realizes there's nothing more beautiful than someone who continues to shine after being burned to the ground. Taehyung is both fire and light in one. He never sought sympathy. But sympathy came from his honesty. He didn't build a stage out of tears. It was built out of undying love. He had surpassed all expectations, because he never conformed to unreasonable demands. Many people asked why he didn't just leave it all behind. But Taehyung had an answer that could only be read through his actions. He knew there were still loyal fans, who had hurt alongside him, who had grown alongside him. He remained here, not because he was afraid to leave, but because he wasn't done loving. And with each of his solo projects, there was a new breath. There was a freedom that had been imprisoned. He no longer sang because he was told to. He sang because he wanted to. He danced not because of an agenda. He danced because his soul demanded space. And the world watched, with hearts filled with admiration. When others began to regret how they had treated him, Taehyung didn't demand an apology. He was too busy creating beauty. He was too busy healing those who came to him brokenhearted and left with theirs whole. He didn't say much. But his silence was louder than a scream. He didn't seek sensationalism. His presence was the center of attention. He didn't press for recognition. But the accolades came unbidden. Because the world loves the truth, and Taehyung is a beautiful manifestation of that truth. Now, he stands on a stage he built himself. Without the help of a system, without the protection once promised. He proves that when someone believes in themselves, nothing can stop them. Even if the whole world closes a door, he will create a window. Taehyung doesn't look back. Not because he's forgotten, but because he chooses not to dwell on the past. He forgives, not because he's weak, but because his heart is strong enough not to harbor poison. He heals not only himself, but the many who see themselves within him. Every work he releases no longer feels like a product. It feels like a letter. A heart-to-heart letter. A letter that says he's still here. Still loving, still fighting, still refusing to give up. And that letter has reached, right into the arms of millions who need his warmth. He's become a symbol. Not because of titles or awards, but because he chooses to remain himself. In a world that constantly changes direction, Taehyung remains steadfast. He is the anchor for many lost hearts. He is the calm amidst the waves. And when many eyes finally open, many silent mouths begin to whisper, admitting that they were wrong. They were wrong to ignore him, to sacrifice him for the sake of numbers. But Taehyung doesn't demand regret. He simply smiles, and then moves on. He knows that now everything he has is his own. This victory doesn't come from pity, but from hard work, the wounds he harbors, and the love he never lets go. He wasn't shaped by those who abandoned him. He was shaped by himself, and by the love of his fans. In a world that quickly forgets, Taehyung is a memory that will never fade. Because he never pretends. He never lies to the public. He shows his vulnerable side, and that's where everyone grows stronger with him. He is no accident. He is a choice. The choice of those who are tired of the noise and begin to search for sincerity. And when they find Taehyung, they don't just become fans. They become guardians. Guardian of a light that was once nearly extinguished. And now, HYBE no longer has control over this narrative. This narrative belongs to Taehyung. And he wrote it with the ink of courage, the paper of wounds, and a heart that has never stopped loving. He was thrown away, but he was never trash. Instead, he became gold rediscovered, purer than ever. He has become a symbol of grace not born on stage, but forged by pain. Taehyung has not only proven that he can rise, but that he can surpass those who once brought him down. He carries no banner of revenge. He carries only love. The world has witnessed his rise like the sun reappearing after a long storm. And no one can deny it, Taehyung is no longer just an idol. He is a mirror in which many hearts see themselves, broken, resilient, and then shining again. One stage after another is built in his name, not because he begged for it, but because the world demands it. Those who once tried to drown his name are now forced to admit, not everything can be silenced. Not everything can be bought. He began creating music with a feeling he'd never expressed before. Every note carried a history of pain, every verse an answer to a question never answered. His music wasn't just entertainment, it was a doorway to his true heart. Taehyung didn't need a medium to touch others. He simply had to be himself. And the world slowly realized, they didn't just like him, they loved him. Because amidst the onslaught of fake popularity, authenticity is an oasis. And he was your oasis. In his new works, it's clear how he's rebuilding the ruins of himself. He's not just rising for himself, but for those who've sheltered him. For those who've waited, believed in him, and never abandoned him, even when he's been neglected. Fans from all over are beginning to unite in one passion, protecting someone who has protected them with his presence. They repay sincerity with sincerity, not because they're told to, but because their hearts are so deeply rooted. And as it all began to build into an unstoppable wave of love, Taehyung kept his head bowed low. He never claimed it was all his own doing. He knew that behind his awakening were prayers that were never voiced, but always sent.
Everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.